Yankee fans. This is the Pinstripe Chronicles. That's right. We are back like we've never left, and we got some things to talk about. We got Hal's interview, which is bound to raise debate. And there's some possible rumors on Arenado. Definitely looks like Stroman's going to get moved at some point very soon, judging by some of the activities on social media, and even Cameron Maben seems to think that he's on his way out pretty soon. So maybe by moving him, the Yankees might get back into the business of trying to improve this team. But who knows? Who knows at this stage? But I do want to say a big good morning to everyone in the chat. Uncle T will not be with us today, but I do have my brother from another mother, the Robino, the excoriator of bad takes. He will take them on and he will destroy you if you've got a bad take. He's my guy. He's the Robino. Robino, it's been, well, to be honest, just yesterday, right? We were chilling out. I was watching Mad Men. We didn't really have anything to talk about. We were like, should we even do a show today? There's not really anything to talk about. And then Hal Steinbrenner talks. And once Hal Steinbrenner talks, you pay attention. And Hal Steinbrenner on this occasion talked, and my bullshit meter started to beep pretty loudly. Beep, beep, beep. So yeah, I'm just warming up here, guys. I'm just warming up here, because I got some things to say about some of the things that Hal has said. But Rob, some of the things that he said could be taken as agreeable, some less agreeable. What aspects from Stevie V? LOL. Donald. Yeah, I'm just trying to remain calm at this point, but just you wait. Rob, what did you make of some of the things that he said? Now, one of the big takeaways is that he said that he felt that this Yankee team is a better team than it was last year. Rob, do you agree with that sentiment?
I think it's better constructed. Offensively, no. They're not a better offense. Get that out of the way. But there's nobody that's playing out of position currently as the roster is. Aaron Boone pretty much confirmed yesterday that Jazz will be back at second, which is a good sign. But we still don't have a third baseman. The only nitpick you can make is you have an out of position Dominguez in left field, but everybody else is in their natural position, which is what you want. The pitching's better. Max Fried is one of the best pitchers in baseball, so now he's our number 2. The rotation's league's better with an experienced heel, a healthy Cole, and you have an actual closer. So the bullpen, while Hal did acknowledge it's incomplete, is better than it was a year ago because you actually have a closer, not Clay Holmes. So I agree in a sense that it is much better constructed. However, it's still not complete yet. So I think he's I would 75% agree with that. But if he sticks with the current layout at third base, then I'd be like, you lost me there, because I still think they're just one more addition away for this lineup, for this defense, and they're going to be, I think the roster is constructed a hell of a lot better than it was. Will the offense be better? No, because we're not going to go over the whole Soto thing again, because we know what we're losing with Juan Soto and even Gleyber Torres, but the additions they made, unfair to say those two guys are going to bring you what Soto brought you. That was another one of his quotes. He's like Goldschmidt and Bellinger. It's like, they're good players. I like them. But to say those two guys are going to replace Soto, that was a little bit bizarre. And so it was there was a lot of things that I'm like, okay, I get that. I understand what he's saying about the bullpen, about the roster. And then there were other things he said about, which we'll get into later on, about the way they use prospects and, of course, that Dodgers payroll. So, yeah, I think overall I didn't hear anything I didn't expect to hear, but it was just a very interesting interview because there were some things and I was like, does he really know about this team? Because for him to say that they use prospects correctly, It's like we just went over this in the last episode. It's like, you kind of don't, and so yeah. But I in that one question, to go back to the original question, I do think right now it is a better constructed roster, but time will tell if it's actually a better team than we were last year. Let's not forget American League champions went to the World Series. We all know how it ended, but I do think this roster is better put together. But a lot needs to be seen, and there still needs to be some additions before I can say it's absolutely better.
I think I agree with that. Defensively, it's better. And definitely in terms of defensive alignment, it's better. Although we still haven't addressed third base, which it's just mind-boggling to me. Completely mind-boggling. But in general, yes, the defense is better. Pitching's better, bullpen's better. But I don't know how we could say that he genuinely felt that this is a better team. Because offensively, it's such a step down from last year. It's not even close. It's not even a marginal downgrade offensively this year. The lineup is massively worse because the two additions are like league average bats at this stage of their careers. And we haven't addressed third base, so there's still that, and I feel that we're still a mile away from being where we were last year. So I disagreed with him saying that it's a better team overall. I think that the bench is weaker. The bench is incredibly weak. We don't have a backup catcher. We're basically one injury away from being in serious trouble. That's what I feel. I feel like one injury to any of our bats, and we're in serious trouble because there's just not much depth. There really isn't. So I feel that that's an issue. And yeah, I think that I think that Hal is a little tone deaf. Now, another thing that he brought up, Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone do an extension. Now, I've softened my stance on Aaron Boone, personally. I don't believe that he is the problem anymore. I think he was a couple of years ago. I don't think he is necessarily now. I think he's probably finding his feet as a manager. I thought he managed very, very well last year, apart from the World Series. But that's kind of when it counts. But by and large, I've softened my stance on Aaron Boone. But, so I'm not calling for firings or this guy needs to be fired, that guy needs to be fired, whatever. I'm not doing that. All I will say is, what kind of a look is it that after your manager got widely criticized for his moves, rightly or wrongly, in the World Series, and the Yankees got their asses handed to them on a plate in the World Series, okay? And now all that is facts. They got their asses handed to them in the World Series. Why is it the first thing that comes out of Hal Steinbrenner's mouth? Well, we're looking to get an extension done for him. As if that's a priority. I mean, when will the Yankees start operating like they actually have standards? Like it's about winning championships again. It just seems that they're incredibly content. That just continues to be my takeaway from everything that comes out of the Yankees. Whether it's the front office, whether it's Cashman, whether it's Hal Steinbrenner, they just seem incredibly content with how things are going. And I think they're misreading the fan base, because by and large, I think the majority of this fan base is not just content with where we're at. We shouldn't be content with where we're at. And if anyone is content with where you're at, then you need to be aware of what the standards are of this franchise. And I think that message needs to be sent loud and clear back to the Yankees. What are their standards? Why are they talking about Aaron Boone extension? How about talk about Why is there a hard cap at 301? Why is Marcus Stroman completely shutting down all business? How about that? Why is that not the number one takeaway right now? How about get me a third baseman? How about get me some lefty relievers out of the bullpen? How about get me a backup catcher? How about get me some bench players? How about get me some depth? How about make this roster actually competitive when it comes to competing against top teams? Because I'm not seeing it right now. How about talk about that? Aaron Boone will be sorted out at another time. That could be sorted out at any time. Not a priority. Ridiculous. Rob.
Yeah, there was some like the Marcus Stroman stuff. I'm not going to look deep into because he had deleted his profile picture and all of his stuff for a few weeks ago. So the fact that he's not following the Yankees anymore, he doesn't follow any. He doesn't even follow the MLB page. He still follows Judge and he still follows a few Yankee players. So I'm not going to look too far into that. But yeah, why don't we have a third baseman right now? He said we're still going to get after it. And what's up to Uncle Tats, and my dad's back in the chat for the first time in a while, so good to see Dad back here. But why is he not? Why are they not asking him about who are your targets or is there a budget? Like, yeah, ask him some hard hitting questions to make sure he can give you a legitimate answer. Because I don't think they like when they lose. I don't think they're like, that's fine, we made it. That's all that matters. But they're not beating those allegations that when people say they're perfectly content or they're complacent and all those things. They're not going to beat those allegations by giving the answers that they are giving. And I just wish that there would be more hard-hitting questions like, hey, what's the situation at third base? Can you really rely on a 36-year-old declining, injured DJ LeMahieu to be your third baseman? Like that's a question you should be asking. Are you talking for some left-handed relief pitching? Like, what's the deal there? He said we're not done. And we might be going up until pitchers and catchers and even into the spring. Well, why not do it now? Why not get it done before you get there? This way you don't have to break up the roster throughout the spring. This way you can have the core together when pitchers and catchers report. Wouldn't you rather have that done sooner than later? It's not like prices are going to significantly drop when you're like a few days into the spring. So these are questions that should be answered, and it's kind of confirming all the reports that they're not going to do anything until Stroman's moved, and that to me is a problem. You should not be waiting to move Marcus Stroman to go get Tim Hill. Like why is Tim Hill not back? We're asking for the bare minimum here. If we're saying go get Tim Hill and like a Danny Colombe or somebody else, that we're asking for like the bare minimum there, just to have some lefties here. If you want to go get a bat and push it right until the deadline, not even the deadline, but push it till pitchers and catchers, fine, because you want to see if the Cardinals lower their asking price. You want to see if Bregman's still on the market. You want to see if Willie Castro's available. I get that. Maybe some of these other guys' prices drop, like even a Paul DeJong. But to not have the pitchers right now, because what are we, 10 days away, 11 days away from pitchers and catchers? These guys want to get their travel plans ready. These guys got to get ready to go to Florida and Arizona. So why don't we have the roster, at least the pitching side of things, like intact? Like, I don't want to wait until like 2 or 3 weeks into the spring. It's like, oh, now we go get Tim Hill back and he's got to ramp his way up, because we saw last year how many times that did not help guys like Montgomery and Blake Snell. Look at what happened with Zach Britton for us a few years ago. He tried to get back too quickly and he hurt himself. So you want to avoid that at all costs. I just don't know what they're waiting for. Why do we need to move Marcus Stroman to add to the rest of this roster? And it goes to Jeff Passan's quote where he said that you're the New York freaking Yankees. Why aren't you acting like it? And it's things like this that you're just kind of like, just go get certain players. We're not asking you to match the Dodgers. Like, to ask you to add $70 million is impossible to do at this stage. But you're telling me you can't add like another 15 to 20 million on the payroll to go get Arenado, a backup catcher, and a couple of lefties? Like,
no, I mean, yeah, I get all that, but obviously circling back to the Aaron Boone stuff. I mean, what do you think about prioritizing the extension for him? I just feel like optically it's a weird look, like as if that's the priority for anything. The way I would have approached that would be quite simple. I would say something in regards to, you know what, I would say if I were Hal, I would have said something like, "We don't believe that it's in the manager's best interests to work on the final year of his contract. I prefer a little bit more security for my manager moving forward. So we're going to plan on adding an extra year to his contract, um, so that there's a little bit of security there. I don't really like having lame duck coaches on my staff. Something like that. That would make sense because because I do agree that sometimes if you're working as a lame duck manager, you might struggle to reach out to some players. Like if you're wanting to get that player to reach that next level, maybe they'd be like, "Well, dude, you're just managing for your job, just like I'm playing for my job. So I don't know if I'll have to listen to you." So a little bit of security is not a bad thing, but an actual extension, I think, is insane, considering what just happened. We lost the World Series. And I just want to know if another owner was in Hal's place as owner of the New York Yankees, the most important franchise in sports, not the second, not the third most important franchise in baseball, but the number one most important franchise in baseball. Would another owner in that spot be this content? Because the Yankees seem incredibly content. They're talking about extensions for a manager who struggled in the World Series, struggled to get his players to play even marginal quality baseball. It was completely below standard to the point where the Dodgers were laughing at us. Laughing. What kind of weird look is that? I mean, it's like if the Yankees were like the little engine that could, and they made a World Series run, and they came a little bit short, then you know what? Okay, he's more than earned an extension. Congratulations, he's done a great job, right? But there should be some standards here. We got Juan Soto. We had a good team, but they didn't even play even a modicum of fundamental baseball, and they got their asses kicked. And the first thing that Hal's thinking is, "Oh, let's run it back. Let's keep exactly the same coaching staff. Let's keep exactly the same front office unchanged. There's nothing that's going to change. And oh yeah, let's extend our manager." I'm fed up with the contentment because that never would have happened in previous Yankee regimes. Not just George, but in previous Yankee regimes, even beyond him, this would not be tolerated. It's just it's far too content. And so congratulations to Jeff Passan. Good on you, bro, because you're going into the Lions' den, going on Michael Kay show, calling out Hal Steinbrenner, because no one's going to defend Hal more than Michael Kay. And he did, and he laid it out. He laid it out specifically, exactly why it's an issue. Rob, have you got the quotes that Jeff Passan said? It would be interesting if you agree.
Yeah, he said, if the penalties are so tough, then why are the Dodgers and Mets doing it? Well, the Mets are kind of stopping, but I get what he's saying. At the end of the day, these are the New York freaking Yankees. If a luxury tax threshold is holding them back, it says more about where they are as a franchise than it does about the luxury tax itself. When have the Yankees ever played third fiddle in baseball? That's exactly where they are right now when it comes to spending. I agree with him. They should at least be like, look, we are the New York Yankees. We can afford to go get an Alex Bregman right now. We can afford to go trade for a Nolan Arenado right now. And back to the Aaron Boone question, I don't think they should have ever even discussed it, even a one-year extension. I think you want to send a message to the fans and to Aaron Boone himself, like, yeah, you got there, that's great, but you got to go win it. So this was the last year of his deal before he had that option, and I believe it's an option for.
Well,
this was the option.
Then it's not even worth
No,
argument.
this was the I think this was the option year, but
Yeah.
so next year he would be officially available for every other team, but that would kind of send the message, be like, look, you got to go win it, or else we're gonna have to go in another direction because he's been here since 2018. I want Boone to be able to have one because if we have our manager and we do win with him, great, then we don't have to worry about our manager anymore. But we've been talking about this since we started the show. We've been talking about this as fans since 2018. Like, does this guy have it to go win it? Because he's gotten close to getting there. Last year was his closest, obviously, but when he got there, he made so many boneheaded decisions that you're like, is he the guy? I do think they can win with him, but he's got to prove it first. So to give this guy an extension when all he's done is kind of fail at the top of the mountain, so to speak, that does speak volumes about how this organization operates. And it does make you feel like they are complacent and content because other teams would probably move on and be like, let's go get somebody else that's going to go take us over the hump because we've seen a lot of very good managers not be able to get that title. Like Buck Showalter's a guy that gets close. He gets close. And I think Buck's great, but I'm not a guy that's going to say go hire him because he's never been able to get to that plateau. It's usually when he got let go that the next guy that took over ended up helping that team win. So I feel like Boone could be approaching that same category where they're going to win a lot of games. You're going to get close and you're going to be like, man, if they just get that one piece, Well, they keep giving him that one piece. They gave him Stanton when Joe Girardi had Chris Carter. They gave him Garrett Cole when previous Yankees managers did not even have that kind of an ace, or at least Girardi didn't. I know he had CC, but Cole was like another level when they got him. They're giving him a lot. You got Aaron Judge in his prime. You gave him Juan Soto for a year. You know, like the list goes on and on of all these players they've tried to bring in. So at some point, you got to stop saying if he just had this one piece. Like now, he's got the better defense. He's got the better bullpen. He's got a closer. He's got a better rotation. Like if he has
The lineup is dysfunctional.
The lineup is dysfunctional. But if one more bat, I think the lineup will be pretty good. It's not going to be last year, but I think the lineup is a bat away from being good enough to win you a lot of ball games. I still think this is a 94 plus win team again, but they still need that one bat. But how many excuses are you going to give Aaron Boone? Unfortunately, I think just him making the World Series was a lock to give him an extension, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be you got to win it in order to get that extension.
Right. I just feel that there's some complacency, but what there isn't complacency is there's definitely not complacency on this channel because we always try and deliver our thoughts when the news comes through. And another factor that isn't complacent is our chat. Our chat is definitely not complacent. We've got tons of people in the chat. All want to give them a review. So let's say hello to some of the dudes we got. We got TC Steels in the chat. As Yankee fans, we should be used to this. We should not be used to this type of attitude from the organization, or we should be. Whatever way you want to put it, we shouldn't be. We shouldn't accept this. John the Beagle Dad. And what else we got? Damian Serrano. I'll say this. I don't think there's anyone out there right now that makes us really all in. Interesting. Bregman, Alonso, etc. don't get us over the hump. Good to see you, Damien. How are you? We got Uncle T in the chat. Uncle T. Got Regil the Great. Raz the man. It's not who Hal is. Rewarding Boone is because it makes Hal feel comfy with the status quo. He approaches it like an investment officer approaches a stock. I'm giving that a star because I think that's a really well thought out take. It's not just like inflammatory. It's not like sell the team. This guy sucks. There's actually thinking behind that, and that is actually a really good take because I think that's exactly how Hal approaches it. I really do. Hal approaches this like he's at the head of a business. But not a particularly competitive industry. You know, I'm watching Mad Men. It's not like the ad industry in New York. It's not like if you ain't doing the job, you're out. No. He's running it like it's it's an in-house business that he's very comfortable with, and as long as you provide marginal results and everything's cushy and people are happy, then let's continue the relationship. That's how he runs it. He doesn't run it like he's the head of a gigantic organization that have massive standards in terms of winning. They used to, not anymore. And Hal is, I mean, I will never say that Hal's cheap, but uh, he's definitely not a baseball guy. He's definitely not locked in on the day to day. I think we can all agree with that. He's definitely not locked in on the day to day. And I think as long as the Yankees are, still selling tickets and winning games and generally being interesting to a vast majority of people, he's content. And I ain't seen anything different from that. Um, Good point from Uncle T. Where's the bravado from Hal when he says we have the resources to sign anyone we want? Great point, T. Because that was a definitely a more, I wouldn't say subdued. It was definitely just a quieter Hal. There was definitely no bravado. In fact, it was almost defeatist because we're going to get into the Dodgers quote in a minute. And that's when I'm going to go off. What else we got here? Ollie says Tim Hill was great for the Yankees in postseason. The Yankees should definitely bring him back. Guess what? Recently, there was another update. The Dodgers are interested in Tim Hill because why wouldn't they be? They've signed everybody in free agency. No disrespect to them because I wish we could. But they ain't done. They're still looking to get better. The Yankees, good luck. Good luck. I really like Mr. Barris's point here. Just seems the front office comfortable with what they have. I agree with that. That's exactly what I've been saying for a while. Sorry, but the Yankees better move their asses or we're in for a disappointing season. Yeah. There'll be some opinions that differ as to where the Yankees are. Rob says 94 wins. He sees 94 wins with the Yankees this year. I don't see that. I'm more like 88, 89. But if we add a third baseman that's good, then I'll maybe get us over the 90s into the 90, 91 win mark. And that's still enough to make the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's a lock that we're the best team in the American League, like Michael Kay said to Jeff Passan. Because Jeff Passan's like, why aren't the Yankees doing anything? And Michael Kay's like, why should they? They're the best team in the American League. As if that. Well,
that's exactly why they should. Make yourself even better. Even
right.
if you feel that way. I still feel they are the best team. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think they are the best team in the American League because no other team in the AL has gotten significantly better yet. I mean, if the Blue Jays go and add a Flaherty and an Alonso, then I'll be like, all right, they might be one of the teams to beat. But Cleveland, who we just played in the ALCS, got worse. Kansas City, they lost a good pitcher to add an infielder, so they're kind of right where they were. They're still a good team, don't get me wrong, and Detroit's going to be a good team. Houston, if they don't bring back Bregman, can you say they got better? I know they got Walker, but they're losing Tucker. They traded Presley, so what are they going to be? Is Texas going to be a threat again this year with a healthy rotation? Probably, but I still think we are the best team, but that's exactly why you should go add another good player. Go get Bregman. Even I know Damian says he doesn't think he's going to take us over the top, but he makes us a hell of a lot better than we are right now. With the Yankees, without Alex Bregman, I still think they're a 94-plus win team. With Alex Bregman, they can get to the triple digits, I think. He's a difference maker. Because what does he bring? Gold Glove defense. We don't have that right now at third. He brings 25 home runs. We don't have that right now at third. He brings 75 or more, even probably higher than that, RBIs. We don't have that at third base right now. So all those things that he brings, even though he's a pull hitter, he's going to be a good hitter at Yankee Stadium. He's going to be a better player than DJ LeMahieu or Oswald Peraza. So the upgrades are out there. And that's exactly why, even if they do feel they're the best team, they should go make those upgrades because then you're putting yourself over the top saying, hey, we're the team to beat still in the American League. But if we're going to get over the hump that we faced last year to beat the team that everyone thinks is unbeatable, we've still got to make some additions here. That's exactly why Jeff Passan's right and Michael Kay is wrong. I agree with Kay that we are the best team, but I also agree with Passan that they should be going out and making more moves because you're the New York Yankees. Go pump your chest a little bit. Go pound the NY on your chest, but right here, I got it right here. Just do this. Think about that logo. Think about what you are. Go back and talk about 27 rings. Say, we want 28, and we're not going to stop at anything to go get it. But to say that just because you're the best team in the American League, which is significantly weaker than the National League, that's not saying much. So, yeah, you should go get more because you want to be able to get over the hump of just being American League champions. You want to be world champions. So, Michael Kay talking at the backside of his mouth again. It's just.
But the best thing about that Jeff Passan doing that on that show, is that Michael Kay can't excoriate Jeff Passan because Jeff Passan is incredibly respectable, and you cannot deny his baseball knowledge, and you cannot deny his sources, and you cannot deny where he's coming from. If that was, and I guarantee you, if that was either of us or someone in this chat that called the show saying what Jeff Passan said, Michael Kay would destroy us. He'd scream at us, call us mouth breathers, window lickers, morons. You don't know what you want. Why do you want a $6,000 million payroll? Do you want a $6 trillion payroll? He'd be screaming at us and he'd be abusing us. But because it was Jeff Passan, he had to listen. Good. I hope he listened. Now, is he going to take it in? No. Because he's a shill for the organization. I understand. He's employed by the organization. I get it. However, I'm very glad that Passan made that point because that means it's now in the public realm and the Yankees will have to pay attention to it because that means it's now out there. That means that if one of the biggest baseball writers in the game is saying that at the moment, optically, it looks like the Yankees are very happy to be third fiddle in the game, the optics are now out there. How are the Yankees going to respond? Because the Yankees are very well protected. We know this. The Yankees are extremely well protected. They're very much like the New York Giants, where Hal and Brian Cashman, but to a different degree. Obviously, the New York Giants are a complete shit show and a disaster. The Yankees aren't that, but the way I'm talking about how they are protected by the media. Just like John Mara, he's got his source, his laptop loyal that protects him, right? Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner is exactly the same. They have their laptop loyal to defend them. They've got their sources to defend them. They've got the Michael Kays. They've got all the main writers. You know, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to disparage their work or anything like that. But you know, you've got the writers, and in general, the media is very kind. The only ones I can think of in the media that ask difficult questions to the Yankees is Joel Sherman. Apart from that, it's a very limited amount, and most of the time, they get a pretty easy ride these days. Not like they did in the 90s. Nowadays, they get a very easy ride, and so they can be protected. You know, Hal Steinbrenner only did that interview to Meredith Marakovits of the S Network, his own channel. It's not like he went on a radio station, a public New York radio station, or a ESPN. He went to his own channel. That's good. So he's very much protected. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's not going to be much there's not going to be much back and forth. Let's be fair about that. And so Hal can then just get it out there that the Yankees are, you know, still competing and then do nothing. But now Jeff Passan's kind of put it out there going, well, you kind of look like the third wheel now in baseball behind the Dodgers and the Mets. Why are you happy with that? And it'll be interesting to see how the Yankees respond. Do I think they're going to respond? No, I don't. Because as I said before, the Yankees are incredibly content with their business model. Their business model is pretty clear. It's been that way since 2018. The business model is we love our... Yes, as TC Steele says here, Hash and Cal are deleted. They are. They like their model. They love... I mean, when we missed the playoffs, what did Brian Cashman say? we're pretty damn good. We're pretty effing good. And all that shit. You know? And when the Yankees got swept by the Astros, he said that he'd never fire any managers or coaches that do what they're told. So, and he said that. that's not even hyperbole. That's what he said. So the Yankees are pretty happy with the status quo, and I'm not, and that's why it's important that there's channel out there and there's content out there that kind of reminds them of the standards that the Yankees should be holding for themselves. It's not unrealistic. I just want the Yankees to be the best in the business, or at least act like they want to be the best in the business. So let's move on to some other quotes because we also want to cover Arenado, but let's talk about Hal saying that he feels that the Yankee lineup will be fine and that Goldschmidt and Bellinger make up for Soto's loss. Rob.
I think it's unfair to those two players.
Yes.
I like Bellinger. I like Goldschmidt. I think they're both going to be fine. I think they're going to benefit from Yankee Stadium. They're not going to replace Juan Soto. It's as simple as that. Juan Soto was near 300 hitter, 400 on base, 1,000 slug, 40 homers, 100 RBIs. You'd be lucky to get a fraction of that from Bellinger himself. Like Bellinger at this point, if he gives you like a 25 home run season with like 85 RBIs or so, you'd be like jumping for joy for that. If you get 2023 Bellinger and even 2023 Goldie, yeah, those are great players. They're not Juan Soto though. Like the two of them combined, sure, if you get the 2023 version, but if you got the 2024 version of them and you combine their numbers, it's still not as good as Juan Soto. So it's so unfair to those two guys to say, yeah, they're going to be enough to replace Juan Soto, because we're not just going to overlook the kind of player that he was. I know a lot of people don't like him anymore for whatever, and I get that, but he is still one hell of a player. And if you're expecting Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt to be the guys that replace Juan Soto offensively, that's unfair. We need Bellinger to get closer to his 2023 form, and the same thing with Goldie, and we're going to be all right. But to say that they're going to be Juan Soto's replacements that's Moneyball-like. That's replacing him in the aggregate. Let's get two or three players to replace one. It's unfair pressure, exactly, Tats. So, and yeah, TC, you're right. They would need career years in order to replace what we lost with Juan Soto. Because we can't forget just how good that duo of Judge and Soto was. Because without those two players, we don't sniff 80 wins maybe. So you got to replace that, and you're not going to replace it. And I think to say that those two guys are going to do it is completely unfair to them.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sharing the screen here if that's available. You see that, Rob? Yeah.
Yep.
So 325 on base percentage, 111 OPS plus, 18 home runs, 266 batting average, a WAR of 2, 78 RBIs. Okay, that's league average numbers, slightly above, no more than that. Okay, so let's keep those numbers in mind, and let's also look at Juan Soto's numbers. Okay, because apparently these two guys are going to make up for Soto's production. I want to just point out how ludicrous that is. So instead of a 325 on base percentage, how about 420? Instead of a 400 slug, how about almost a 600 slug, 569? An OPS of 989 instead of an OPS of 750. Instead of a 111 OPS plus, how about 178? Instead of a 266 batting average, how about 288 batting average? Instead of 18 home runs, how about 41 home runs? Instead of a 2 WAR, how about a WAR of almost 8? There is no world that you could possibly say that with a straight face. It's embarrassing for my owner to say that because that means that he doesn't know baseball. That's what it means. And that frightens me. But he also says that it's not just Bellinger. So, okay, let's go with Goldschmidt then. So let's keep those numbers in mind, guys, right? Let's keep that in your mind. Let's go with Goldschmidt. 98 OPS plus, below average. What are we doing? So that means that if we combine the OPS pluses, it still wouldn't even get you to Juan Soto. OPS of 716. That's almost below average. 414 slug.
It's right around league average for last year, that OPS. OPS was down for this year, but it's still basically league average.
For me, if we have anyone with a 716 OPS, I'm going to say it's not a good year.
Personally. No, you're right. I'm just saying based off of last year's league average OPS, he was right around that number. Still not good enough.
It's still below average for me. That's in terms of the way I view things. I think 716 not good enough at all. On base percentage 302. That means that he's not even on base a third of the time. 65 RBIs. I mean, if you combine the RBIs, I don't even think it takes you up to Soto. 245 batting average, 22 home runs, a WAR of 1. Now, WAR is pretty important because that tends to be how you aggregate. You want to add up the WARs, right? Well, Goldschmidt's WAR of 2 and Bellinger's WAR of 2 and Goldschmidt's WAR of 1 takes you about 3. Soto's about 8. So we're still about 5 WAR short before you can even consider aggregating the loss. So all Hal Steinbrenner's done right there is put very unfair expectations on these two guys. The only thing that Goldschmidt and Bellinger are, right, and I like these two players, but all they are an upgrade to the positions that they're replacing from last year, which is Anthony Rizzo and Verdugo. They're an upgrade on those guys. Not even a massive upgrade, but an upgrade. Not a giant upgrade, just a marginal upgrade. That's all they are. So to spout that they're former MVPs, dude, only if you jump in the Yankee DeLorean and then you go back a couple of years can you puff your chest out saying that we've acquired 2 former MVPs. They might technically be in the history books viewed as 2 former MVPs, but where they're at in their careers are nowhere near that. Not even the most optimistic fan could honestly say that that's where they're at their careers. They're just like league average, above league average bats. Bellinger above league average, Juan and Goldschmidt probably above league average. I think it'd be a little bit better this year. I think they'll both be slightly above league average. That's it. That's not making up for Juan Soto. I mean, I know that Soto is obviously in our bad books, but let's be perfectly honest here. He's the reason why, along with Stanton, that they made the World Series. No one else. No one else in that lineup. And there's no one that's coming through that aggregates what Juan Soto made to that team. He had one of the best seasons I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. He had the best at bat I've ever seen to get us to a World Series. And then your owner with a straight face says that 2 average ball players are coming in are going to make up for those numbers that Juan Soto put up. That's an embarrassment. It's shameful, and it means that my owner doesn't know baseball. That's what it means to me, because anyone with even an elementary knowledge of baseball would say those 2 guys at their careers, at the stage of their careers, are only almost placeholders. And they're still a bat short, a significant bat short. So I thought it was embarrassing for my owner to say that. But Steve Schumann, lineup is much better balanced. Jason over Verdugo should be much better. Goldie over what we had will be much better. Okay, seems pretty optimistic.
He's right, but and this goes to all those statement here, we're just quoting Steinbrenner. I don't want to keep talking about Juan Soto, but Hal Steinbrenner said those two players are going to replace Juan Soto. That wasn't us that said it. That was our owner that said it. So that's what we're talking about here. I disagree with the statement completely. I don't want to talk about Juan Soto anymore. He's a New York Met. Let him do what he's going to do with the Mets. But when our owner is continuing to bring the guy up, we're going to talk about it. That's why we're discussing this right now. We're just saying that we think it's insane to say that those two players are going to replace Juan Soto. Because they're not.
No. There were better bats available. And we didn't even bother to look at them. Let's be honest. There were better bats available. Pete Alonso, Christian Walker. If you add that to the lineup, I wouldn't be yelling down this microphone. Alec Bregman at third base, wouldn't be yelling at this microphone. Another thing that concerned me was that Hal said that Aaron Judge was the one that pushed for Cody Bellinger. Why is Aaron Judge the GM all of a sudden? Do we not actually have a front office that has a scouting system? I don't know. The way this organization is run right now frightens me. And more people need to be aware of this. It's not a great look. Derek Jeter, who's a far more accomplished, established captain, winning captain, never made personnel decisions for the Yankees. You had a GM that has that. Why is Aaron Judge pushing for players? He pushed for Verdugo last year. How did that work out? I think it's a bad look. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
It makes me wonder what they're actually doing in that front office, because if Judge is the one to say go get Bellinger, who exactly were they looking at? Because let's be honest here, outside, like the realistic additions that would have brought you good defense and at least a league average or above league average bat, it was Bellinger and Tucker after Soto, because Santander was not going to bring you the defense, and neither was Teoscar Hernandez. So there weren't that many good outfield bats. Profar maybe would have brought you that, but it makes you wonder who exactly were they looking at. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to listen to everything Aaron Judge says, because I think Aaron Judge would be like, hey, go get me a third baseman. But the fact that they're like, okay, we'll do it for you, but then who were they looking at before? Because from what Hal was saying, it sounded like they didn't even think about Bellinger. It was because of Judge's suggestion. So who the hell were they looking at prior? After Soto left, were they like, run it back with Verdugo again? Like, what were they doing? So maybe it's a good thing that Judge brought up Bellinger, because who knows who it would have added. Now, I wish he would have said go get Christian Walker, because that would have been a much better option at first base. But it is, again, there's a lot of issues with this front office. And now I don't mind if they're taking some input from their best player, but to say we got him because of Aaron Judge is a bit unnecessary. Like, I love Aaron Judge. I'll defend the guy until I can't defend him no more. But this just seemed a bit like, what are you doing as a front office that you have to go to a player to be like, do you want, like, who do you think we should get? Because who were you looking at prior to Bellinger? Because we know they were in on Tucker, but the asking price was too much. Okay, so why was it the fact that Aaron Judge had to say go get Bellinger for you to be like, okay, let's go get Bellinger? Because I'm terrified to know who their targets were before that.
Well, I mean, it's either that or the Yankees had better targets, but they've deferred to their captain. That's another way of looking at it. Because
so who are the other targets, though?
I mean, we're just speculating. We don't know.
Right.
It's very weird to me, and it reminds me of, remember when there was a Tampa contingent, and then there was a New York contingent that were involved in recruitment back in the 90s and thousands that made Brian Cashman annoyed, and then he had to make that power play, that power move in order to wrest power away from Tampa and focus it back in New York. It kind of reminds me of that. So we have Aaron Judge in Hal's ear. Then we have Brian Cashman and his front office also making moves. Are they coinciding? Is it a case where, and I hope this is the case, is it a case where Cashman's like, I really think that Bellinger's doing an upgrade here at Yankee Stadium. Aaron, how do you feel about playing with Bellinger? And Bellinger's like, yeah, cool. If it's that, fine. If it's Brian Cashman going, actually, I really like so-and-so. I think we should be putting our resources into Alec Bregman at third. But then Aaron Judge gets on the phone to Hal Steinbrenner going, no. You need to put your resources into my friend, Bellinger. If it's that, then we've got a problem. Now, I'm just speculating because we don't know. We're not involved. But I really don't like my player making recruitment decisions because he needs to focus on playing. That's a pretty big focus for me. He's not a general manager. Leave the general managing to the general manager. And if the general manager can't do it, find someone who can do it. I think Cashman's more than capable of doing it, so let him do it. I want him to make these decisions because if this goes wrong, then what? Because you can't blame Aaron Judge because he's the captain and everybody adores him. So then Cashman's going to get the blame for something that he might not have even wanted. Don't like it. Let's get to the next quote. Rob, have you got the quote about the Dodgers?
Yeah, that's the one we've been saving the best for last because that's the one that's gotten most of the discourse. So he says, when asked about the Dodgers spending, he says, "Well, look, it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kind of things they're doing. I get that. However, he did just say 2 months ago, we can get anybody we want. Just want to put that out there. Now we'll see if it pays off. They still have to have a season relatively injury-free for it to work out for them. They were one of the most injured teams in baseball last year. And it's a long season, as you know, and once you get to the postseason, anything can happen. We've seen that time and time again. The Dodgers, even at their most injury-plagued point, were still one of the best teams in the National League last year. And they also won the World Series with basically a 3-man rotation, and one of their guys was limited because Yamamoto was still working his way back and pitched very well. And if I'm not mistaken, Buehler was also kind of limited. So it was really just Flaherty, and they were bullpenning their way through the postseason. And they still won the World Series. So for him to say they have to have a relatively injury-free season, it sounds like he's already making excuses for his team. But he's just using the Dodgers as kind of like, he's putting the Dodgers in the place of the Yankees. So if we have guys that go down and say, well, we were hurt, it sounds like he's preparing himself for excuses in case things go wrong. And he's just using the Dodgers for it. Because the Dodgers proved that even with injuries and with multiple things going wrong, they had to go add at the deadline as well, even with that payroll. And they still won. Despite injuries, despite losing despite only having Ohtani hit, despite missing Yamamoto for a few months, despite Glasnow being gone for most of the year, they still won. And they had to put together a roster on the fly throughout that season to go get guys like Kopech, to go add a bunch of arms to the bullpen. So the spending thing I understand because they're not this. It's like it's tough to say we're gonna match them dollar for dollar. I'm not asking them to do that. Nobody else in baseball is going to do what they're doing money-wise. But you're the Yankees, you can spend a little bit more. But to say that, the whole relatively, you have to have an injury-free season, no, you don't, because they just proved that you can win with an injured roster.
Ohtani did his shoulder in the World Series.
He was hurt all season.
Yeah.
And they still won. They still won with an injured Ohtani, an injured Yamamoto, Mookie Betts playing out of position. Freddie Freeman was on like one leg, I think, throughout the World Series, and he kicked the shit out of us. So I don't want to hear this injury stuff. That quote,
it's embarrassing.
Me.
It does a disservice to the work that the Dodgers did. The Dodgers signed the best talent, and also, by the way, they got Sasaki, who the Yankees wanted. Is that all injury contingent? It kind of does look like an excuse, built-in excuse. And by the way, I'll tell you which team is far more contingent on injuries. It's the Yankees. That's why Rob's right. It almost feels like he's just substituted our name out and put the Dodgers' name in. If Aaron Judge or Stanton go down for any sustained period, this team is cooked. Completely and totally cooked because there's no offense apart from those two guys. Nothing. If the Dodgers lose Ohtani, they've still got Freddie Freeman. They've still got Mookie Betts. And vice versa. They've got the best of the best of the best in every position. The Yankees don't. I'm being honest. They don't. So the Yankees don't have even a fraction of the depth that the Dodgers do. The Dodgers have, I even listed it in a previous podcast, the number of names that they have that can just step into their rotation. They've got a ton. Once the Yankees move Stroman, they don't even have a sixth starter, really. So the Yankees don't have any depth. They need Austin Wells to basically play 140 games, 130 games because their backup catcher is another. Don't even have a backup catcher. You know, if anybody goes out in the outfield, who's going to come in? Is Grisham going to play every position in the outfield? I don't know because he's only played center field. So I think it was obscene from my owner to say that. It's a disservice to the work that the Dodgers did. The Dodgers did a fantastic job. They kicked your ass in the offseason, admit it. And it just feels like a loser mentality. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it just felt like excuses. That's all.
Yeah.
It just felt like he was setting himself up for the excuse game that we've heard too many times before. I don't think it was necessary because in the same quote, he was basically praising him. He's like, "Oh, they've done a great job. They beat us," and he's not taking away from what they did. But was the injury-free quote really necessary? Because they just proved to you that you don't need to be 100% healthy to go win a championship, which is an excuse the Yankees have used several times over when they've been bounced out of the ALCS by Houston. Every time they use an excuse. The roof, the weather, the trash cans, the buzzers, the injuries. But the Dodgers are like, we're just going to win, and we're going to let you beat yourself. So, like I said, some quotes I was happy that he said, like, that he wasn't happy with the performance, said they didn't play well at all, and it's unacceptable. Okay, but then you turn around and say things like that, or you know, we can't spend money the way they are. It's like, I get it, but you're not going to really, and also the quote that they're not done, prove it. I need you to prove it. Because right now you're making all these reporters look right, and I've been trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, maybe they're just waiting for the right move. They're clearly waiting to move Stroman. Because if they weren't, they would have had a third baseman by now. St. Louis is practically begging to trade Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
And I know he's not the perfect fit for Yankee Stadium, but you cannot tell me his 2.5-3 WAR would not be a much-needed addition to this lineup right now over having a guy with no feet as your starting third baseman. Because Aaron Boone said,
let's talk about Arenado. Rob, how much time do you have? Because I know that you're pressed for time.
A few more minutes, so I can certainly get this Arenado stuff in before.
Let's talk about some Arenado before we close this out. Let's talk Nolan Arenado. What kind of a trade do you think it would take to get Arenado? Do you think it would be a similar kind of salary dump as Chicago being perfectly happy to take on a sixth starter / middle reliever just to get Bellinger off the books? Do you think it would be kind of similar for the Arenado trade?
I think it will, and I think St. Louis will have to eat more money. There was that report when he turned down the trade to Houston that the Astros were willing to eat about $15 to $20 million in that trade alone. So right now he's about $25 million against the luxury tax. If you take away $5 million from that, he'd be about a $20 million player. They might have to eat more at this point just to trade him. And that might be what the Yankees are hoping that they do. Maybe they eat close to half of what he's owed. I don't know if that'll be the case, but if you can get close to like the $15 million range for this season, because it's going to be even less next year, the Rockies are paying some of that contract, and some of it is deferred. Actually, a lot of it's deferred, so that could be what it's holding the Yankees back. But I think it's not going to take a lot to get him. They could eat more money and ask for more in return. So like, okay, we want a decent prospect or two, and we'll eat significantly more. Or they can eat around $25 million or so and then get less. So maybe the Yankees can get away with trading a couple of righty relievers that we have a bunch of right now, like a Mark Leiter and even a Scott Effross or Ian Hamilton, and another guy could get the job done. where it wouldn't be killing us. So it depends on how much money they want to eat. And if they want to eat more, we're going to have to give up a little bit more. If they want to eat less money, then we'll probably give up less. So it could be a similar trade package to Bellinger, depending on the money the Cardinals eat, because they want to get rid of him. And their owner has said it. It's like plan A, B, and C right now. They don't want to add long-term contracts. They're trying to trade this guy because they want to play Gorman at third, I believe. So they're begging to trade him. And I think the Yankees should absolutely go and at least entertain it.
Yeah, even MLB trade rumors here says this on Baseball Reference page. The Cardinals have been among the league's quietest teams as they've failed in their attempts to trade third baseman Arenado, despite both sides preferring that he's traded. So they're desperate to move him. And let's look at this third base market. Arenado is probably the best option outside of Bregman, and for whatever reason, the Yankees aren't interested in Bregman taking on his years because the Yankees seem to operate on a year-to-year basis as opposed to thinking long-term. So they don't want to take on any major commitments for offense. Basically 1 year Bellinger, 1 year Goldschmidt. They're going on basically 1 year. So they don't really like big commitments, which I think is an obscene way to build a baseball team, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, Arenado would kind of fit. Look at him. 5-time Silver Slugger, 10-time Gold Glove, 6-time Platinum Glove, 8-time All-Star. You're going to get phenomenal defense. Good. So that fits in the run prevention, and offensively, he's above average. Not great numbers, but if you add those numbers to the lineup, it's pretty nice. Another 70 RBI bat, 400 slug, and above average OPS plus. I mean, if you add that to the lineup, now the lineup looks significantly deeper, 1 through 9, and it's not going to be as exciting, but it's still going to be a serious team, and I think I'm hoping that's something that the Yankees are waiting on, because I really can't imagine where the Yankees are going to pivot if they don't make that move. I mean, he is also in 2023 he had a marvelous year. 26 homers, 93 RBIs. 2022, 30 homers, 103. 2021, 34 homers, 105. I mean, it's not that far removed from last year, so maybe he could give you that. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about players to replace a Soto-like offense. I mean, you put those three guys together, then you probably have it, or at least close to it in terms of offensive numbers. But he would lengthen out the lineup. He absolutely would. I think if you bat him like 6 or something like that, I don't know how it would look. Like, you think about what you take Boone's quotes yesterday about the leadoff spot into account. Arenado would probably bat in like 5th or 6th, either behind Stanton or behind Jazz, and I think that would make the lineup a hell of a lot better. Now, if they lead off with Jazz or Dominguez, we don't know yet, but you put him in the middle of the lineup, or even if you put him at like the back end, you're telling me that you don't want that with the Gold Glove defense over DJ LeMahieu? Because right now, DJ LeMahieu is probably the front runner to be a third baseman, with Cabrera and Peraza battling it out with him in the spring. That was Aaron Boone's quote. He said, right now. Now, that leaves it open to interpretation, because it could mean they add somebody. But I'm telling you, I said a month ago, I wanted nothing to do with Arenado. But if he's the best option, because we know they're not going to get Bregman, it's either Arenado or we wait a couple of months for Ha-Seong Kim to be healthy. And maybe we go sign him for a little bit less money. But, I mean, Arenado would make this team better, because he fits the defensive mold. He fits the run prevention mold. He's still a phenomenal defender. Even with his offensive numbers dipping last year, his defense is still one of the best in baseball at his position. He's still considered a top 10 guy at his position. Third base is a pretty barren wasteland. So if you're not looking at Arenado or Bregman or even a Ha-Seong Kim, you're looking at Jorge Polanco. You're looking at Paul DeJong. You're looking at Brendan Rodgers to play second, and that would mean Jazz has got to go to third, and we don't really want that. So I feel like it's either Arenado or maybe they make a surprise trade. Like I said the other day, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter. Bobby Malone's been talking about Willie Castro a lot, and I like that idea. He's a decent hitter, but are the Twins going to move him? We don't know yet. That could be speculation. I know they want to move payroll, but Arenado is on the market. Like, the Cardinals want to trade him, and they're willing to eat money to get rid of him. The Yankees should be all over that. So Brian Hoke said he hopes they come back around on Arenado. So remember that earlier report that they had a discussion about him, and Jack Curry basically shot it down. Who's right? I don't know. But we'll see. If maybe in a couple of weeks, if they want to get him traded before pitchers and catchers report, because I think did the Cardinals play in the Grapefruit League with us? I'm not sure, but he would want to get ready to go to spring and not have to move in the middle of it, I'm assuming. So I think they want to get this trade done soon, and we got a couple of weeks for it. So I'm hoping that he's the play. If it's not Bregman, which it's not going to be, or Ha-Seong Kim, which it probably won't be, it's either Arenado or you go with the open competition. And I don't like the idea of DJ LeMahieu being the third baseman, because he's clearly their favorite. Anyone that reads between the lines on their quotes, we keep hearing his name, and it terrifies me that we keep hearing his name.
Yeah. Now, there's obviously, Hal Steinbrenner did say, we're not done, we're still talking. But when he said that, it was actually in context to the bullpen. If you notice, when he actually said it during the interview, he didn't say it while he was talking about the lineup. That's why it went off when he was talking about how those two names that we mentioned are going to make up for Soto. He didn't then add the caveat going, we're still looking to add to the lineup. He never said that. He was talking about the bullpen going on, we're still talking. So which makes me think that, by and large, I think they're done offensively. But you can take it any way. But I think if they were to have a preference, I think they want DJ LeMahieu to play third. I think Hal wants Oswaldo Cabrera to be the option at third. But both of them, even as a tandem, as a duo, would be the worst starting third baseman in the league as a duo. There's no doubt about it. And that's an embarrassment it's an embarrassment for the Yankees, for a team that are trying to win a World Series. So I think Arenado, if you add him, I think Arenado would actually have a better year than. Now let's put it this way. If you look at Arenado's numbers, I shared it on the screen. Do you think he's a better hitter than Cody Bellinger now?
I think Bellinger was, slightly better, average-wise. Actually, you know what? They're kind of similar.
Yeah.
If you think about it, they're pretty similar players. Even with
his numbers are much better than Goldschmidt's.
Right, much better than Goldschmidt's. I know, again, he's a pull hitter, so his profile does not fit Yankee Stadium at all. That's why everyone thinks he's perfect fit for Boston, and he is a perfect fit for Boston, or he would have been for Houston. But even if those don't go over the wall, he's doubling to left center field, and we were going to complain about that if he's driving and runs in the sixth spot. Look, he still had 71 ribbies last year, and with a down year, he was still above league average player with amazing defense. He fits what the Yankees are doing right now. And like I said, a month and a half ago, I was like, no, I don't want Goldschmidt and Arenado, because I thought they were going to go get Walker and somebody else.
No, me too.
But they got Goldschmidt, and if the Cardinals are still willing to pay a lot of that money down, it seems like a no-brainer. It's not like you're getting him for 5 or 6 years. Look, here's the difference. If you give Bregman a 6 or 7 year deal, you're going to have him until he's 37. It's kind of the same thing as having Arenado until he's 36 now. So, or 37 now. So I just feel like that's the route you have to go. Either go get him or pony up the money and swallow the picks, the loss of picks and international money to go get Bregman, because none of these other players are going to make you significantly better. Let's be honest, not even Arenado makes you significantly better offensively. No. But he makes you a hell of a lot better than you are right now, because I cannot stress this enough before we wrap up here.
Yeah.
My fear, again, is that DJ LeMahieu is leading off and playing third base on opening day. And every single day that passes, and I keep saying it like a broken fucking record, But each day that passes, I get closer and closer to that fear becoming reality. And I really, really hope I'm wrong about it. I want to be wrong about this, but I have fear that I am getting closer to being right, and I am terrified of that because I like DJ, but he should not be the starter. He needs to be on the bench. He's much more valuable as a rotating utility guy to play first, to play second, to play third, to DH. If he's hitting relatively okay for like a good week or two, he cannot be starting.
By the way, Aaron Boone kept saying "if healthy" when
Right.
asked yesterday, so that says to me that Aaron Boone wasn't overly confident. I think that's a Aaron Boone code for saying I'm not overly confident DJ LeMahieu's actually going to be healthy. He kept saying if healthy, he could maybe face lefties. He didn't even say he is going to be our starting third baseman. He just kept saying if healthy, if healthy. So I think Aaron Boone, if you gave him truth serum and he wasn't working under Brian Cashman, I think he'd probably say, let's be honest, he's cooked. But I have to insert him because I've got left with no choice because of my general manager decided not to bring in a third baseman for whatever God knows reason. Because I think Aaron Boone, if you gave him truth serum, would give you a lot more honest answers. So let's hope that we do acquire. Good spam call. Lovely. If
It was Brian Cashman.
it's Brian Cashman. Hey, what are you talking about? So anyway, I think that might be a sign that that we wrap this up. Let's please get me a third baseman. Please. I mean, it's either that or Arise to play second, but he doesn't play league average defense. At least Arenado is going to give you Gold Glove defense at third. And it's actually a position that the Yankees need, and then they could have Jazz at second. That seems to make more sense. So, plus, they're desperate to trade him. So let's not disappoint them. Let's make that trade. Let's make it happen. Let's have a complete lineup because I'm tired of being mad at this team. I want to be excited. I want to be excited going into spring training. At the moment, Hal's comments has done nothing but give me bad vibes. Bad juju. Don't like it. Don't like the feeling out of it. Don't like it. So I want to feel good about it, about the team. I want to be excited. I want to go to spring training this year. I want to be in Tampa. I want to enjoy it. But I can't enjoy it if DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera are playing third base. There's no world can I feel any kind of sense of excitement. So you got 2 months. Get it done. Now, we're going to sign off. As Uncle Tats likes to say, Rob.
He says, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and share this out with your friends, your family, and the strangers on the corner. I want to know what stranger he's been talking to about this channel, if that person's still on the corner. But as Tats also always says, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard. We'll see you guys Friday.
Salute, guys. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great rest of your day.